Live from the news station, this is 7 News at 7.
Really, the best thing now is to just hunker down, stay in a safe place, don't move, don't try and move around.
That is Governor Nikki Haley, as you saw right there. Of course, we're following all the developments. She, of course, is tracking Matthew as it approaches South Carolina.
Although the storm has weakened a bit, the storm's already done damage to Florida as it travels up the coast. Of course, we will have the latest on the storm's track.
Now, we are tracking Matthew as it heads up the East Coast, the Atlantic coast.
The storm bearing down now in Savannah and Charleston. Now, earlier today, Hurricane Matthew left damage here on Florida's East Coast. High winds over 100 miles per hour, blinding rain, a storm surge flooded coastal areas from Daytona Beach to St. Augustine.
Take a look at the rain and the wind out of Savannah, Georgia. You can see here the rain is covering up roads, and we want to get the latest on the track of Matthew. Storm Team 7 meteorologist Dan Bickford is keeping an eye on that. Dan.
Yeah, the good news is, as you mentioned, the storm has weakened. The bad news, however, it's still going to track very close to the coast of South Carolina, and as a result, the potential for hurricane force winds is still there. Now, the storm right now east-northeast of Jacksonville, Florida, lifting to the north at about 12 miles per hour or so. Maximum sustained winds right around the core, 110 miles per hour on land. Since that's a little farther away from the core, we've still been seeing gusts 60 to 70 miles per hour with this particular storm. Storm track through tonight into tomorrow takes it right up to the South Carolina-Georgia border and then turns it to the right, just offshore. We're talking just a couple miles either way can make a huge difference, folks. If this goes a little farther to the south, the winds won't be as bad along the coast. A little farther north, and it's going to be a mess. Even if the hurricane force winds aren't sustained, you'll still have hurricane force gusts along the coast. We'll also have, regardless, very heavy rain and some storm surge flooding along the coast. Now, this will gradually move away from the coastline Saturday night into Sunday and then twirl back to the south and perhaps head back towards the Bahamas as a low-level tropical storm going into the early part of the week. Also, there's a tornado watch. The areas you see in red in the low country, individual cells within these bands around Matthew could rotate and produce isolated, short-lived tornadoes, but obviously something you don't want to see a whole lot of in these storms if you're dealing with all the heavy rain and the winds anyway. A flood warning already in effect for parts of the low country where a flood watch already remains in effect, and that rain is just going to keep coming down, and it's going to get worse as the center of Matthew gets closer overnight. Let's take you to the coast right now. That's where Chief Meteorologist Christy Henderson is in Bluffton in the middle of all that rain. Christy.
Yeah, that's right, Dan. Lots of rain, and the wind gusts have gotten higher within the last hour. Still waiting on the latest observations, but Beaufort and Hilton Head both had wind gusts of over 40 miles per hour. We've had several very strong wind gusts just in the last few minutes, and the sustained winds also are going to continue to increase overnight. Now, the hurricane force winds extend out about 40 miles from the center of the storm. And so getting into the early morning hours, as Dan said, it depends. If that thing wobbles closer to the coast, we're going to get in on some of those hurricane force winds. You can see the gusts there happening. And we, at the very least, will see very strong tropical storm force winds. So strong tropical storm, minimal hurricane. That's going to cause some debris to fly around. Of course, the storm surge is the main threat along our coast from Hilton Head on northward, as storm surge of 5 to 8 feet is likely. That ocean water pushes in. Well, much more on the system and how it's impacting the Bluffton area here where we are tonight, coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Christy. Well, about an hour ago, South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley gave us the latest information on the state's response to Matthew.
7 News reporter Robert Kittle is live tonight in West Columbia. He was at the news conference. Robert, summarize for us the important points we got from the governor.
Yeah, Tom, the effects that we're already seeing in South Carolina are exactly what they were worried about the whole time. There are reports of water covering roads and reaching houses, some houses in Beaufort County. The final total of people who evacuated is 355,000, far short of the 500,000 she said needed to. Now the state is making plans for after the storm passes, and the governor is urging people on the coast to be prepared for the worst.
Most counties have put into place curfews, so what we are asking citizens to do is please heed the warnings of your county. Please look at what the curfew times are. Really, the best thing now is to just hunker down, stay in a safe place, don't move, don't try and move around.
She asked everyone for continued prayers, and she ended her news conference by having a National Guard chaplain say a prayer for our state along with Florida and Georgia. Live in Columbia, Robert Kittle, 7 News.
Robert, thank you. Even though Hurricane Matthew has weakened, utility crews are ready to help. Hundreds are on standby in Florence, ready to help with power outages. On the campus of Florence Darlington Technical College, Duke Energy utility crews are staging in anticipation of possible power outages. Those crews started rolling out early this morning to head to Florence. We were there as some of the linemen were leaving. 300 of those workers left throughout the day. A spokesperson for the utility says all those involved in this work paid close attention to forecasts and media reports and made the decision to stage operations in Florence.
A lot of these folks have responded to tropical events before. A lot of these guys have worked hurricanes like Hurricane Sandy in the last few years, and so they know what to expect.
And it's all about proximity. Duke Energy says Florence is the best place to be so crews can respond to outages quickly.
Well, with the approach of Hurricane Matthew, we checked, and there are some ways you can help out right now with this relief effort. Charities like the American Red Cross say monetary donations are the most helpful right now. If you do donate household items, do not bring them to a shelter. Instead, take them to the Salvation Army or another place that processes in-kind donations. And remember, if you give money, check to see how much goes toward the cause, and beware of scams like look-alike charity websites. For a list of trustworthy charities helping hurricane victims, look for the story on WSPA.com.
As hundreds of thousands of people evacuate the coast, they're looking for hotels, shelters, or other places to go for the next couple of days. 7 News reporter Laura Thomas shows you another way people are helping by offering up their own homes.
Kelly Melton spent the morning cleaning and getting her house ready for visitors.
I can't imagine leaving behind your home and not knowing what you're going to come back to.
She decided for the first time to offer up her place on Airbnb to those evacuating from the storm.
I just listed it. I took some real hurry-up pictures. I mean, I'd never done this before, and I did specify, on my listing that it was for evacuees.
As hotels filled up across the state and shelters opened their doors, so have people with extra space. Governor Haley suggested going online to search for rooms.
If you go to Expedia or Airbnb, they have opened up a lot of other rooms there in Columbia and Greenville.
Airbnb launched an urgent accommodations section, waiving service fees and connecting people who have places to stay with those who need places to go. The site filled up with listings at no cost for those evacuees.
It was just a way to help out, that's all.
Melton says her place is even dog friendly. She's glad to see so many people helping out those in need during the storm.
If somebody's hurting and you can help them, people do. And it's amazing how many people do stand up and do the right thing.
In Spartanburg County, Laura Thomas, 7 News.
Melton says she plans to take down the listing after this weekend once she's sure everyone from the hurricane has a place to go.
Well, it's not only people who have evacuated the coast, animals are leaving too, and Greenville County is a major hub where pets are coming in all shapes and sizes. This morning, rescue groups came from across the country, moving out dogs and cats from the Greenville County Animal Care location so they can make room for others that would come in from the coast. This is part of a transfer plan that was actually practiced and put in place last year during the flooding we saw in South Carolina. But it is not just dogs and cats, it's actually horses too. Greenville County's Riverbend Equestrian Park is housing 30 horses from the Charleston area that made a 48-hour trip to safety.
All my local suppliers that supply my hay, feed, and bedding were so happy to bend over backwards and just go out of their way to help these people.
Foothills Pony Club has also stepped in here to help with barn chores and walking the horses.
Remember, you can download our 7 News app for the latest information on Hurricane Matthew. You'll get weather updates, advisories, plus other breaking news. Download it for free now at the App Store, and we'll keep you updated on the storm online and on the air as well.
And next on 7 News, as the southeast coast rides out Hurricane Matthew, people in the Caribbean are assessing a massive round of storm damage and loss of life.
And I'm Chief Meteorologist Christy Henderson live in Bluffton, South Carolina, where we're expecting some damage here as well. Strong winds on the increase tonight, and also lots more rain to come. We'll have an update on Hurricane Matthew coming up.
Well, as officials in the Caribbean assess the aftermath of Hurricane Matthew, tonight we have confirmed the death toll is up to a staggering 842 people dead.
Most of those deaths are in Haiti, and much of that island nation just looks like a disaster zone. When the Category 4 storm made landfall, it just shredded homes, engulfed communities in knee-deep floodwater that has yet to recede. It's come as a devastating blow. Haiti was still rebuilding from a deadly hurricane back in 2000. U.S. military officials are mobilizing now to send help. And tonight, with reports of widespread outages, coastal communities in Georgia, South Carolina, also North Carolina, are also on notice as Hurricane Matthew makes its path.
And we want to check in with our meteorologist, Dan Bickford, who is tracking all the developments as we keep an eye on Hurricane Matthew tonight. Dan, what's the new information at this hour?
Well, at least it is weaker than it was earlier today. However, it's still packing a wallop and is still going to cause problems for the South Carolina coastline. Here's Matthew right now, center circulation 50 miles east-northeast of Jacksonville right now. We're still talking 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, though, on land, even at that distance from the storm. The core of the heaviest winds remains over water, and that's where we want that to stay, actually. But that does go to show, even with a weakening storm, you can have tropical storm force wind gusts and perhaps wind damage that far away from the storm. And that's what we could be looking at along the South Carolina coast. And that's in a best case scenario. Worst case, we get the hurricane force winds on the coast. And here's the reason why. Matthew, 110 mile per hour winds now, possible around that core. North winds at 12. Actually, excuse me, it's moving north at 12. Watch what happens as we go through the night, though. It moves to the north and then curls to the northeast tomorrow, right along the coast. Saturday, 2 o'clock, it's just southeast of Charleston. Weaker as a Category 1 storm with 90 mile per hour winds, but you don't want those either. What's the difference between 110 and 90 at that point and causing damage? Look how close this is to the coast during the day on Saturday. If this slides just a little to the north, the core of those winds stay over land and we get more wind damage. Farther to the south, the chance for hurricane winds goes down. We may still have some hurricane gusts, but it'll be more of a tropical storm type impact right on land. Either way, there's going to be a ton of rain. Either way, all that wind is going to push that surf up and cause that storm surge, perhaps 4 to 8 feet in some locations, maybe even a little bit more in the low country, especially down around Hilton Head. As we go through the rest of the weekend, this will finally move away from land, continue to weaken to a tropical storm, and then it's actually going to drift to the south with time. Take hour by hour along the coast, already in the heavy rain right now, and it's just going to get heavier as we go through the night. Meanwhile, those outer heavy rain bands lift farther to the north, so much about the southeastern half of South Carolina is just going to get soaked. Meanwhile, at midnight, that center of circulation is still well to the south, and by the time we get to 3 a.m., it's still offshore, still in big time heavy rain across the low country, and then this eye will gradually work its way up the coast, taking the heavy rain with it eventually and taking the winds with it with time. So by the time we get deeper into tomorrow afternoon, we'll see the weather improving from southwest to northeast, although near that center circulation, even by tomorrow evening towards Myrtle Beach, it's still going to be awfully gusty. In fact, here's the wind gust forecast as we go through the rest of the night. That's just short of hurricane force wind gusts by 3 a.m. around Hilton Head, assuming everything holds together. And then that type of gust moves up to Charleston as we go a little deeper into the morning, and eventually as we go into the evening, perhaps towards Myrtle Beach. Our wind gusts here likely to peak in the 30s during the day tomorrow. That's going to be our windy period. A lot of rain moving into the coast, a flood warning already in effect for parts of the low country. This area is under a tornado watch. Isolated tornadoes could form out of those cells. Now here, we've had a little bit of rain today. Just some light rain right now. A lot of you, it's just a couple sprinkles and mostly dry. But we're going to be watching the edge of that batch of rain to our southeast, because if that nudges farther northwest, that's when we start to see some of the heavier rainfall. We'll take you hour by hour closer to home. We look dry for a while. We'll continue to see some of those showers build back to the west, but the heaviest rain, according to this computer model, lurks just to our east through the night. It's trying to figure out where that line's going to set up. If it stays here, Gaffney, Union, Lawrence, you'll have some moderately heavy rain, but the potential for flooding stays well to the east, and we may not see much to the west. So we're going to have to watch that line carefully, because if the storm wobbles around, that line's going to wobble around too. An additional 8 to 12 inches of rain possible off along the coast. We could see, depending on where that line sets up, anywhere from 1/10 of an inch to the west to perhaps a couple inches to the east. If that line shifts farther east, we all get less rain. If it comes farther west, we all get a little bit more. No warnings or watches for flooding here. We do need the rain, actually. We're in a bit of a drought still. Upper 60s and lower 70s right now across the upstate, mid 60s in the mountains. As we go through the night, we are looking for rain that'll linger into tomorrow morning. Then we'll start to see some clearing from the west. It will be breezy. Highs in the upper 70s. Again, gusts possibly into the 30s tomorrow with those winds. Winds come down a bit Sunday. Warm sunshine, 78. A little bit cooler as we go into Monday and Tuesday. Some nice fall weather, and then warming up Wednesday, Thursday. Could be back to near 80 by Thursday. And in the mountains, 71 tomorrow. Some rain over the first part of the day, then a little bit of clearing. Dropping to 70 for highs for the first part of the week with those lows in the 40s. A taste of fall in the wake of Matthew. Tomorrow, our speed bump as we go through the first part of the day, but we're not going to have it anywhere near as bad as folks not too far to the southeast.
Yes.
All right, Dan, thank you for that. Well, Christy Henderson has been monitoring things in the southeastern corner of the state, the area that's going to feel all of this first. She's standing by live tonight in Beaufort County with another report for us. Christy.
All right, Tom, just a couple of hours ago, the palm trees behind us weren't really moving too much, but we've gotten some really strong wind gusts over the past hour. And at 7 o'clock, had some wind gusts reported of 48 and 49 miles per hour, both at Beaufort and also at Hilton Head. And we're getting some of that now. The sustained winds are going to continue to increase, and so will the wind gusts. And, of course, all the rain falling. It's not really doesn't have anywhere to go. So the flash flood watch, even a flash flood warning in effect for parts of this area. Big impacts tonight from Hurricane Matthew. The biggest impacts will be felt going into very early Saturday. We'll talk more about that, and we'll have more for you all through the night as the system moves closer. Back to you.
All right, Christy, we do appreciate it. Thank you. Turning now to campaign 2016, Republican Donald Trump got a big endorsement today from the National Border Patrol Council.
Tomorrow, Trump heads to Wisconsin, where for the first time he's going to campaign alongside House Speaker Paul Ryan. This weekend, Democrat Hillary Clinton is putting her attention on Sunday's debate with Trump, with no public events scheduled. Tonight, a new Quinnipiac poll is showing she has a 5-point lead over Trump, thanks to support from women and non-white voters.
Tonight, U.S. officials say they are confident the Russian government directed the recent hacking of U.S. political sites to interfere with the upcoming election. The breach involves emails from American people and institutions like the Democratic National Committee. Pressure's been mounting on the Obama administration to call out Russia on the hacking. A victory for Furman University students. They will be allowed to register to vote in Greenville County. 3 students sued the Greenville County Elections Director, saying they were denied their rights because the county made them follow special steps to prove their residency. A judge today ordered the county to allow the students to register.
March Madness is coming back to Greenville. The NCAA made that announcement today after the news that the event would be moved out of North Carolina because of that state's controversial bathroom law. Greenville was awarded the games that initially were slated for Greensboro. They'll tip off at the Bon Secours Wellness Arena on Friday, March 17th and Sunday, March 19th. Tickets for those games will go on sale starting on November the 5th, and the Well will announce more details coming up next week.
Let's talk football now. Clemson faces another ACC opponent tonight on the road. The third-ranked Tigers play Boston College in less than 30 minutes. The Tigers come off a big win over highly ranked Louisville last weekend. This is Clemson's first regular season game played on a Friday night since 1956. The BC Eagles are on a 10-game ACC losing streak. We're going to have an update on the game for you when you join us tonight at 11. And a reminder, you can see the Wofford Terriers in action tomorrow night on our sister station, the Carolina CW62. Wofford is on the road at Western Carolina. The kickoff's at 7 p.m. See all the action on Channel 62. Next on 7 News, the maker of the EpiPen is taking responsibility after claims it overcharged Medicaid for the allergy drug. The settlement it now faces with the feds.
And here's what's on TV tonight on CBS and the CW.
EpiPen maker Mylan has agreed to fork over $465 million to settle claims that it overbilled Medicaid for the life-saving allergy medication.
The federal government says EpiPen is a branded drug, which means that Mylan should have been paying a far higher rebate under the government's complex pricing rules. The drug maker had been under scrutiny for the skyrocketing consumer cost of those EpiPens. Last month, lawmakers grilled the head of the company about the aggressive price hike. Mylan eventually came up with a plan to lower costs with coupons, and they also are offering up a generic version. A big headache for commuters in New Jersey soon will be coming to an end. Rail service at the Hoboken Transit Station is supposed to get back to rolling next week after a train crash that killed a woman and injured more than 100 other people. Investigators say the train was traveling at twice the speed limit when it crashed there into that station last month. The damaged train was not removed until yesterday. It was towed away to go through some more examination.
Next on 7 News, we're going to give you another look at the forecast for Hurricane Matthew. Here's a look at Ormond Beach, Florida.
Straight ahead on Scene on 7, a local corn maze is voted second best in the nation. Why you're going to want to head to Denver Downs this weekend. Tonight at 7:30, Scene on 7.
Two, one. I'm meteorologist Christy Henderson.
Well, Hurricane Matthew definitely closing in on the Carolina coast.
Yes, it is. Let's take another broader view of the radar here. This storm about 50 miles east-northeast of Jacksonville. The heavy rain off the northern end of that already across about the southern half of the state of South Carolina, and the rain is going to get heavier. And as this gets closer, the winds are going to get stronger too. The northern part of the eye is still about 94 miles south of Hilton Head. As that gets closer tonight, start to get even gustier winds. And by the time we get into tomorrow, the center of circulation could be right offshore. And that means we could see hurricane force winds along the South Carolina coast tomorrow. Here, we're going to have a little bit of rain to contend with. The farther west you are, the drier it's going to be. The farther east you are, the better chance we may see an inch or more. We need the rain here because we're in the middle of a drought. We're also going to see gusty winds here with gusts about 30 miles per hour or so during the day tomorrow.
Okay.
We got the heads up, and we appreciate that. Thanks for joining us. We have a lot more coming up, of course, at 10 and 11, so we hope you'll join us.
We have Scene on 7 coming up for you next. Be safe this weekend. Keep it here for the latest on Hurricane Matthew.
7 News is always on air, online, and on the go. We're proud to be the news station.